but it makes me think that could be perhaps introverted, extrovert.
Everyone see what happened then?
Yeah.
Okay, you're on the right track. Keep going.
Yep.
Or extroverted, introvert, extrovert, extrovert, introvert. One of those.
Okay. But you're not sure whether you're an introvert or an extrovert.
Because
So what's your definition of an introvert?
because I'm not an introvert by nature, so it makes me think that I'm more like an introverted extrovert.
Which means what?
Good question.
An extrovert that's a bit introverted.
Can you expand on that? I mean, what exactly do you mean?
Yeah, maybe
And pause right there.
like
Excellent. Okay, are you right on the cusp of I know? The reason I don't want to let it too long because I don't want to go into it yet because there are some nuances I want to bring out. Janti did a fantastic job with that question. Okay, who has any idea about what Svetlana means? I wouldn't have a clue. And the very fact of the way she's expressing it, she knows something. She's feeling something. There's a certain scenario where she feels something, and her best description is, I'm an introverted extrovert, but when I'm not, I'm more extroverted when I'm not introverted. Can you see the confusion in that? No wonder she's lost in it. Poor Svetlana, right? Okay. But we all have this, don't we? We have problems that we just can't, we have a feeling we know what it is. We describe it, but then we think, that's not even what it is. It's like this, but I can't quite describe it. You can hear the loop she's caught in. So this is a good place that if your client gets confused and you really don't know as the therapist what on earth they're talking about, you have to dig into that. The very nature of digging into it, she went into trance. Now, would you agree you have no idea what she's talking about yet?
Yes.
Good, because I don't either. And that's the reason for this intervention working so well. Okay, so pick it up where you were. You might just have to do it naturally again. Let's just see what happens.
Okay, sorry, you were going to explain the introvert, extrovert.
it's almost like an extrovert just being shy or lost or not confident.
Not confident.
Yeah, maybe.
You feel like you're not confident?
Maybe.
You're not sure?
No.
What makes you think that you may not be confident?
Just let it settle in for a second. Excellent job. Just let that settle in. Grab some tissues, guys. Just sit on that for a moment. Okay? Something very interesting has come up from this already. Okay? It's like that reality of kicked in like, and this is the bizarreness of our problems, and we'll get some tissues in a moment, okay? It's like you have a feeling you know what it is, but when you finally realise that's not it, whoa, then what is it then? It's like the only reality you could hold on to was that confusion. Once that gets questioned, that reality goes away and it feels like you've got nothing to hold on to, even though the thing you were holding on to was keeping you in the problem in the first place. Okay? Do you see the weirdness of what happens to our problems? Okay? Would that be a fair example of what's occurring?
Sure.
And that's why. Okay? Okay, so what I would like you guys to do is I'm going to get you guys to pair up again. Good job so far. Okay? I want you to do this exercise again. Okay, you can go with the same partners if you will. Let's just have this conversation. Don't try and do anything with the problem. Don't try and fix it. Now, do you see the very reality of me saying don't fix it? Do you see the difference? Did this end up being the same place you were before with the conversation?
No.
Okay? And the reason you had no idea what it is, how could you fix it if you're as confused as she is?
No.
So when I say, guys, get as confused as your client, this is why. Quick stuff, right? And we're only 20 minutes into the seminar, okay? So it's up to you. You can either have a break or you can get yours back. Make him cry if you want to, okay? Or I can have one of the girls take you for a walk, but you did a really good job, okay? This alone will be therapeutic in nature. We might address this a little bit later once the emotion's drained out of it. But what's happened here is the reality that Svetlana was holding on to, all those confusing, Janti questioned and she went, well, maybe that's, oh no, maybe that's not it. I've been holding on to this for so many years, whatever the case may be. Now I don't have that. We've opened up thinking. That emotion has to go somewhere. Does that make sense of what clearly has happened? See what I mean? I can't teach this. It has to be live in the moment, okay? So guys, pair off again, just 4 minutes, have a conversation. Don't aim for this, but if it happens, okay? And just have a chat, guys, okay? Very well done. Very well done. I'm going to invest in a tissue company, maybe. Conversational Hypnosis Academy tissues. Yeah, good job. Okay. So what have we done so far, realistically? Just having a chat. Okay. This starts the very way that I want you guys to interact from now on, taking the nuances from this training. Okay. Who felt nervous about going into these little exercises just then? Okay. Who felt okay? Okay. See the contrast? Okay. And it could be the very fact that some of you have just trained recently, so you're still in that mode. For some of us, it's been a while since you've trained. But regardless, yes. For yourself, yes. Okay. Now, let me bring up a couple of important ideas as to why this could occur, just to keep in the back of your mind so you get something from just the interaction itself. Right now, we're doing nothing. Okay. And I've purposely set it up like that. We're going to start to add little bits and pieces into it. These are the main and common reasons about why we get nervous as hypnotists. Okay, I fell into this as well, is because we're trying to do something with the conversation. Okay, we're going to get very restrictive very soon. As soon as you start to try and do something with the conversation, you're trying to lead them towards an outcome that's based on your training. Does that make sense? Like I'm trying to steer the conversation to suit a regression. I'm trying to suit it to fix an Ericksonian learning story. I'm trying to fix it because I want to confuse the living daylights out of them. As soon as you start to do that, all it takes is your client not to agree with that unconsciously, and then while you're trying to do something, they're spending their time trying to block you. Right. Okay? The reason, again, why you get nervous and scared as well is because you're trying to figure them out. Very, very hard to do when they don't even know what the issue is. So how on earth can we figure them out if they can't them very selves figure themselves out? And the reason they're sitting in front of you is because they don't need figured out, they just need help. Do you hear the difference in that? Okay, they need the help without being figured out. They've spent many hours per day trying to figure it out. We all do it. We have a problem and say things like, why me? Why does this always happen to me? Why is it when I get one bill, all the bill comes? Or why is it when I go to work, my boss always yells at me? Is it me? Something I'm doing? Maybe I need to do this, this, and this. We've all done something similar to that, right? As you try and figure it out, you put yourself so deep inside the problem that it's very hard to get out. And that's where we as hypnotists come along and we intervene and we show them the things that they're not aware of. Okay? Now, the whole purpose of this little training exercise at the very start for the last half an hour is just to point out, do you see, although it's just happened to a few people, more than I would have expected actually, you're already getting little things starting to come up, and I haven't even told you to do anything with the conversation, you're just having a general chat. This is the difference between digging down into the problem in comparison to, I want to try and fix this. Okay? So with this, we need to contrast. I want to get 2 volunteers to come up the front, and I want to have a chat. Well, you guys are going to have a chat. I'm not going to do anything. Okay? And the therapist, I want you to try and fix their problem. As hard as you can. Give them advice, offer them solutions, because I want to get a contrast. Okay? Because once we have a contrast, by the end of day 2, we'll be showing you guys essentially how you can give advice, but without actually giving it. Okay? To offer little hints of solutions along the way that somehow your client picks up on, and the breakthrough they have at the end of the session, they go, oh, I'm just going to do this. And you think, no joke, I told you that half an hour ago. There's a difference between giving advice and offering advice. It's a very small nuance. That's where we're headed to. So who wants to have fun with this little uncomfortable exercise of giving advice? Yep, come up, give me a round of applause, have a seat, or either way. Let's get another person. One more person. Yep, come on, big fella. Give him a round of applause. You guys are happy with those chairs? We are now. Excellent. All right. Quite a height difference, right? Yeah, okay. So, yeah, that's better, yeah. So, since you volunteered first, you can tell Phil what you want him to be, client or therapist?
Client.
Client, excellent. I'll move closer to you so we can pick up. So, your role is actually harder.
Okay.
Okay, why not, right?
Yeah.
You're going to start the normal conversation like, what's the problem? Give me an example. Why is that a problem? How is that a problem? That sort of stuff. And then when you feel the need to, I want you to offer advice that comes to your mind. when offering advice, think, well, if that was my issue that Phil's giving me, how would I deal with it? And I just wanted to see Phil's reaction.
Okay.
He might take it on board and go, you know what, that's awesome. Or he might go, nope, I don't want to do that. And let's just see what happens, okay? So start nice and casually. Let's see where we go.
Great. How you going, Phil?
I'm alright, yourself.
So, what can I help you with today?
I'm still procrastinating a bit.
Procrastinating a lot. So, how does that make you feel?
Frustrated.
Frustrated?
Yeah,
So-
definitely frustrated.
So what about procrastination makes you feel frustrated?
Well, you've got lots of stuff to do and I'm not necessarily getting it done at times.
Why do you think you might not be getting it done?
I'm busy thinking about it and trying to work out which way I should do it, how I should do it, when I should do it.
So why don't you just think about it and just do it?
That's what I was doing.
Excellent. Let's pause right there. How did that feel, giving that advice? You hear it in your voice. It's like, now Scott's sitting next to me. He's told me all these years not to say it. Now I'm going to say it. What just happened to Phil, though? This was really, really interesting. You couldn't plan this, okay? It stumped him for a second, a split second, as he took on the suggestion. And then what did he do automatically? Rejected it. Okay? Now, if Christian didn't hear this, you'd keep going down that road. Okay? That's why we have to really pay attention to the answers they give us. Okay? If you keep saying, well, if you've thought about it didn't work, just think about it another way. No, that doesn't work either. Yes, it does. I'm sure it does. How about you write a list? No, I've done that. Really? You've wrote a list? Yeah. Well, how about you write the 10 top things you should do? And this conversation keeps beating around the same circle over and over that gets nowhere, except Phil gets frustrated, you get frustrated, and then all of a sudden it goes nowhere. Okay? So we're going to pick it up from there. Again, let's give you more advice and let's just see what Phil does with this.
Cool. So you've already tried that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm already doing.
And it's not working for you?
That's why I'm here.
So why don't you try writing everything that you need to do down and then go through the list and do them
Why would I want to do that?
to help you not procrastinate?
Okay. I suppose I could try that.
Yeah.
Pause right there. What are the chances Phil will actually do that? Did everyone notice as well what happened? Did everyone always hear the change of roles right then? Yeah. You could feel that, right? Did you notice that as well? And you actually backed up really, really nicely, and it was all in body language. Phil leaned forward and said one thing, then Christian leaned forward even further and says, no, I'm the therapist, don't you take my role, okay? This is really important, okay? And we're doing this as a contrast exercise. Don't ever let your client take control of the conversation or the interaction, especially if you do manage to say a bit of advice saying, oh God, I shouldn't have said that. It's out there, who cares? And the client says, well, why would I want to do that? I'm here to see you so you can help me. And then we get on the back foot and think, oh God, how do I get out of this situation? There's a lot of pressure at that point. Do you see the difference? These are, again, very small nuances. Okay, how do you feel from being this type of therapist compared to the one you're more accustomed to?
Not good.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we might have the very thing Phil needs, but Phil needs to come up with it. Okay, and later on in day 2, we'll look at how we can almost promote that to happen. Okay, so we're going to do this again. We're going to backtrack. We're going to rewind, if you will. Okay, take away the advice. Okay, and all I want you to do, and this is going to be not a restriction, it's the only thing I want you to aim for, is be so damn curious about why Phil is stuck in this problem, and then create your questions from that. Okay, so start again, guys, and let's just see where this goes with that as an understanding.
So you're saying you feel frustrated because you procrastinate?
Yeah, it gets frustrating.
And what about the procrastination gets you so frustrated?
Because I know that the jobs need to be done, the work needs to be done, the things need to be done.
Why do they need to be done?
Because they're there.
Because they're there.
Yeah. It's a list that doesn't go away.
It's a list that doesn't go away? Why doesn't it go away?
Because if I don't do it, it doesn't get done.
And so it bothers you that it doesn't get done?
Yeah, it does.
So how would you rather feel?
Better knowing it's completed.
So then, how would you go about completing it?
And pause right there. Excellent job so far. Okay. Did you hear the question that came
Yeah.
out? Okay, almost like offer a solution. We're not there yet, but it's a good place to be, okay? Let's understand something about what's happening with Phil's problem. Let's break this down, because something very interesting has come up. Again, you guys will have access to the training as well, so you'll be able to hear this stuff as I pointed out. What has Phil told us? There's something to do with procrastination, and there's something to do with some sort of frustration. Phil has just told us, and hopefully everyone heard this, that he knows what to do, and he knows how he wants to feel. So why is he not doing it then? Is anyone curious about that? Can you hear the bind he's caught in? I know what to do. I know the outcome if I do it, it's going to be fantastic. I just don't do it. Anyone curious about why that exists? Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, you can definitely be. It seems something small and trivial. We all have this again, right? We have things in our life we know we should do. We know the outcome. If we just put our foot down and do them, the outcome would be spectacular for our lives. We don't do it.
Scott,
Yes.
he seemed a bit frustrated when maybe I was talking to someone when he said there's no one else to do
Did
it.
you pick up on that? And that was my next point. There's no one else. So, no, this is what you guys are here for, to point these things out. Now, let's assume some things if we could, just for the inner secrets of this course. Let's assume, okay? There might be some trust issues with Phil about he's the only one that can do it properly. He maybe has been let down before. Maybe if he screws it up, at least he can blame himself and nobody else. Maybe he's never had someone he can trust fully enough to do it for him. Maybe the list doesn't exist in the first place, he's just telling us. There's a lot of things that can happen from this. We could go into assumption and totally miss the issue itself. So it's a great pickup, okay? These are the things, not only do we listen to what our clients are saying, we listen how they're saying it, okay? So we'll keep going. If you come to a point where you say, no, I don't know what to ask next, that'll be where I'll intervene and we'll let this play itself out. So again, don't try and solve it. Don't try and do anything with it. Just be curious about how does that bind actually exist? Why is it there? Okay, so pick it up where you feel natural.
So, why do you feel like it's your list and that you have to do it?
I don't have a support structure. So we don't have a support structure, so we just do.
And what is it that you do?
So all the work that has to be done around the farm or whatever.
And so, what's the support structure that you don't have?
We don't have any family that's around.
And how does that make you feel that there's no support structure there?
It just means that I'm the one that has to do it. It comes back to me.
Good place to be. Excellent. Who would find themselves caught at this place as well, like, what do I do with all this information? Okay? This is where we have to be very careful of things. This is when your advice wants to come out. Okay? So, good place to be. Okay? What do we know so far? What have we found out? What's the new information? The conversation's almost going around a bit of a circle, which is fine. What do we know so far?
There's no support structure.
So definitely no support structure.
No family to help.
No family to help. Yep.
It's just Phil.
Just Phil. Yep. What else?
He feels like it's his list and he has to do everything himself.
Excellent. And that's where my mind goes. How does Phil get to the point of thinking it's his list and that he's the only one who has to do it? Okay, just bear that in mind for a moment. Yes?
I also have the feeling it's overwhelming for him. It's
Yep.
too much for him to take on.
There's probably some of that in there. Yep. So what I'm going to get you to do before I offer some solutions, or what we do next, is who really knows what Phil's talking about? Who has good content? So what I'd like you to ask